friendship is the sort of love one can imagine between angels. I am not asking anyone to accept Christianity if his best reasoning tells him that the weight of the evidence is against it. There is no good trying to be more spiritual than God. God never meant man to be a purely spiritual creature. That is why he uses material things like bread and wine to put the new life into us. We may think this rather crude and unspiritual. God does not. He invented eating. He likes matter. He invented it. Surprised by joy. Impatient as the wind Wordsworth. Do not by any means destroy yourself. For if you live, you may yet have good fortune, but all the dead are dead alike. I had come out of the station on the wrong side and been all this time walking into what was even then the mean and sprawling suburb of Botley. I did not see to what extent this little adventure was an allegory of my whole life. It was very cold and next day snow began to fall, turning pinnacles into wedding cake decorations. The examination was held in the Hall of Oriel, and we all wrote in greatcoats and mufflers and wearing at least our left-hand gloves. The provost, old Phelps, gave out the papers. I remember very little about them, but I suppose I was outshone in pure classics by many of my rivals and succeeded on my general knowledge and dialectics. I had the impression that I was doing badly. Aren't all these notes the senseless writhings of a man who won't accept the fact that there is nothing we can do with suffering except to suffer it? Who still thinks there is some device, if only he could find it, which will make pain not to be pain? It doesn't really matter whether you grip the arms of the dentist's chair or let your hands lie in your lap. The drill drills on. I wonder if people who asked for God to intervene in our world really know what they are asking. Will they want to be there when God really does intervene? Clive Staples, C.S. Lewis. In 1916 that an infantry subaltern would be insane to waste anxiety on anything so hypothetical as his post-war life. The truth is, I think, that while death, mine, his, everyone's, was often vividly present to him as a subject of anxiety and other emotions, it had no place in his mind as a sober, matter-of-fact contingency from which consequences could be drawn. At any rate, the conversation was a failure. You can never get a cup of tea large enough or a book long enough to suit me. He called himself Jack, a plain handshake of a name, a far cry from the Clive Staples he had been christened, and to be Jack was the hard work of a lifetime. We are what we believe we are. Friendship with the latter marked the breakdown of two old prejudices. At my first coming into the world I had been, implicitly, warned never to trust a papist, and at my first coming into the English faculty, explicitly, never to trust a philologist. Tolkien was both. He replied at once with fatherly counsels about the necessity of hard work and concentration, the amount that he had already spent in educating me, the very moderate, nay negligible, assistance he would be able to give me in later life. Poor man. He misjudged me sadly if he thought that idleness at my book was among my many vices. You can say that Christ died for our sins. You may say that the Father has forgiven us because Christ has done for us what we ought to have done. You may say that we are washed in the blood of the Lamb. You may say that Christ has defeated death. They are all true. If any of them do not appeal to you, leave it alone and get on with the formula that does. And, whatever you do, do not start quarreling with other people because they use a different formula from yours. Forgiveness does not mean excusing. The contemplation of what we take to be real is always, I think, intolerably sensitive minds, attended with a certain sort of aesthetic satisfaction, a sort which depends precisely on its supposed reality. There is a dignity and poignancy in the bare fact that a thing exists. Every man, I believe, enjoys the world picture which he accepts, for the gravity and finality of the actual is itself an aesthetic stimulus. In this sense, Christianity, life force worship, Marxism, Freudianism all become poetries to their own believers. But this does not mean that their adherents have chosen them for that reason. On the contrary, this kind of poetry is the result, not the cause, of belief. Theology is, in this sense, poetry to me because I believe it. I do not believe it because it is poetry. Any saying is to be taken in the sense it would naturally have borne in the time and place of utterance. It is not an accidental resemblance that what, from the point of view of being, is stated in the form, God became man, should involve, from the point of view of human knowledge, the statement, myth became fact. The essential meaning of all things came down from the heaven of myth to the earth of history. Though the world is slow to forgive, it is quick to forget. All you then have to do is to keep out of his mind the question: if I, being what I am, can consider that I am in some sense a Christian, why should the different vices of those people in the next pew prove that their religion is mere hypocrisy and convention? On this view, the world of facts, without one trace of value, and the world of feelings, without one trace of truth or falsehood, justice or injustice, confront one another, and no rapprochement is possible. On this view, the world of facts, without one trace of value, and the world of feelings, without one trace of truth or falsehood, justice or injustice, confront one another, and no rapprochement is possible. Readers are advised to remember that the devil is a liar. Not everything that Screwtape says should be assumed to be true even from his own angle. There is wishful thinking in hell as well as on earth. Our natural experiences, sensory, emotional, imaginative, are only like the drawing, like penciled lines on flat paper. If they vanish in the risen life, they will vanish only as pencil lines vanish from the real landscape, not as a candle flame that is put out but as a candle flame which becomes invisible because someone has pulled up the blind, thrown open the shutters, and let in the blaze of the risen sun. When you invite a middle-aged moralist to address you, I suppose I must conclude, however unlikely the conclusion seems, that you have a taste for middle-aged moralizing. It is tiring and unhealthy to lose your Saturday afternoons. But to have them free because you don't matter, that is much worse. I think that real landscapes enter into pictures, not that pictures will one day sprout out into real trees and grass.